did you do anything about the burn today?
Well, I talked to Chris, and he had thought that as long as like the debris originated in the village, you could move it around and burn it wherever. But that's not how it goes. It has to fall where it's burned. I'm pretty sure Dave's hauling it in.
Okay.
And I know people are pretty much divided 50-50 on the open burning, but I don't think most people expect businesses to burn at the scale Dave's burning. Like, I think most people in your backyard, some leaves, some sticks, not acres worth of stuff burning.
I would agree with you.
So I don't know if maybe we, after a miscellaneous business, I just asked that a discussion be added. Do we exempt businesses from doing it? How do you feel about that? Or do we restrict the size of the fires? But like Austin says, then you'll have, instead of one big fire, you'll have 8 small fires.
Can't we just say no? Like, what? I mean,
No burning at all?
no, I don't want to do that. Like, but like, why is he doing this?
Right.
Like,
I don't know if I talk about it tonight, I'll get a phone call from him.
okay. Okay.
Got it on. Okay.
It being 5:30, I'll call the meeting of the Village of Peoria Heights Board of Trustees to order. If everyone would please stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Turner, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Present.
Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Simmons?
Present.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Trustee Reichert?
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you all for being here. I would now move to the approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting on February 3rd, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion. Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Simmons, seconded by Trustee Kazam. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. We're now down to comments from the audience on agenda items only. If you do have a comment, please come to the podium, give your name, address, and try to keep it to 5 minutes. Comments from the audience? Going once, twice. Comments are closed. We'll now move to old business. First on the agenda is ratification of ordinance 2026-1785, an ordinance amending Title VI, Chapter 7 of the Code of the Village of Peoria Heights regarding cannabis and drug paraphernalia to prohibit sale and use of kratom in the village. Trustee Weisenberg?
Thanks, Mayor. I move to approve ordinance 2026-1785.
I second.
We have a motion by Trustee Weisenberg, seconded by Trustee Simmons. Trustee Weisenberg?
Thanks, Mayor. We discussed this ordinance at length last meeting, and we had amended it to just prohibiting the sale of kratom within our community. I believe it's sold at 2 communities currently that sell the synthetic version of kratom. So I don't know that if there's any more discussion from the board on this, but we discussed it at quite a length last time. And it's just no longer going to be sold in the village of Peoria Heights once this ordinance is adopted.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item? One thing I will just say, and I think I was contacted by, again, Monica Hendrickson, of the director of the Peoria County Health Department, and she is very interested in our ordinance. We would be the first in Peoria County to have such an ordinance, and so she would like us to use, have this as our, as being the role model for the other municipalities in the county. So after we're done today, I will be signing it and forwarding it to Dr. Hendrickson for her review, so that she can use this as a benchmark.
Real quick question, Mayor, and you may know this, but does Peoria County have like a medical director? I thought there was like a person that directed public health from the county level.
So Monica Hendrickson
Is she that person?
Yeah.
Okay. Because since we started discussing this kratom, I've gotten all kinds of emails from people all over the place.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird. I'm glad someone's paying attention to our agendas. But you know, there's varying degrees of opinions on how good this stuff is or how bad this stuff is. And I kind of would like to hear from the medical director on what her opinion is on this. I don't know if.
Well, she was very excited to hear that we were doing this.
Okay.
This echoes what Tazewell County and a lot of municipalities have done.
Okay.
I mean, in the packet from last time, we had the epidemiologist from Tazewell County, who is instrumental in many of the ordinances that were passed in East Peoria, Pekin, Creve Coeur. Dr. Bill Halter, who is the representative for the Pekin Tazewell area, is sponsoring the bill statewide in Springfield.
Okay.
And after talking to him in his office, the statewide ordinance will be will go further than what ours will do.
Okay.
It will eliminate both the sale as well as the possession
Okay.
of kratom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will likely be preempted by Springfield.
State law. Okay.
You know, I had a interesting discussion with Chief Sentes after the last meeting, and one of the things he brought to my attention is that in their line, the treatment of an overdose of this is the same exact treatment as heroin. They use a Narcan treatment to revive the patient. So for them to determine whether or not it's a heroin overdose or a kratom overdose, you know, obviously when you call the police if there's an overdose, even though it's supposed to be protected, it's, you know, the nerves are a little high if the police walk into the room with a drug sitting on the table, so it's usually disposed of before their arrival if possible. So, but that was interesting to find out that there is no difference in the treatment of the overdose.
Wow.
I think, and I was on the receiving end of some of those emails as well, and from, you know, people who are somewhat involved in the industry of kratom. And the problematic thing, and this is what Megan Hanley, the epidemiologist from Tazewell County, had identified, was things that are marketed and sold in stores as natural kratom are not in fact natural, because there is no FDA regulation on the marketing and sale of these items. It is pretty much a free-for-all. And so while I do sympathize with some maybe in that industry about the natural stuff, unfortunately, as we find it, there is no, through just the gas stations and smoke shops that these things are sold at, there's no way to correctly identify if this is a natural substance or some sort of synthetic. So I think out of precaution, you know, your motion on this agenda item is a fair one.
Thanks, Mayor.
Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're now down to new business. The approval of a street closure for St. Patrick's Day event on March 17th, 2026. Trustee Weisenberg?
I move to approve the street closure on March 17th, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Weisenberg, seconded by Trustee Steinwaddle. Trustee Weisenberg?
Yeah, this is something we do every year for the St. Patrick's Day event, I believe at Wee Sullivan, so we close the road for that.
The only thing I would say, Mayor, is that last year, I know that this has become a tradition for the Village of Peoria Heights. We do it annually. But if there are new businesses in the Heights, they may not know this is happening. And so I would ask the Blasics to please reach out to the Chamber of Commerce so they can get some kind of correspondence out to their fellow business owners. Or I think in the past, maybe they still do go door to door. So, I mean, you know, they let everybody know what's happening.
I think that is correct.
Okay.
But very good suggestion. And I think that should probably be considered whenever we do something like this. Any other comments on this item? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're now down to approval of the use of Tower Park on Thursdays, June 25th, July 23rd, and August 27th, 2026 for the Peoria Heights Community Band. Trustee Reichert?
I make a motion to approve the use of Tower Park, June 25th, July 23rd, and August 7th for the Heights Community Band.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Reichert, seconded by Trustee DeVore. Trustee Reichert?
They kind of do these concerts every year. The concert will start around 6:15. They will need access to chairs and the audio room. And they usually have about 100 to 150 people attend their concerts. So I don't see why not. Yeah, simple.
Agreed. Any other comments on this item? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now down to approval of vehicle equipment for Police Department in the amount of $5,683.48.
You missed one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll circle back to that. Trustee Weisenberg.
Thanks, Mayor. I move to approve vehicle equipment for the police department in the amount of $5,683.48.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Weisenberg, seconded by Trustee DeVore. Trustee Weisenberg.
Thanks, Mayor. So this is some equipment for the police, for our squad cars, some printers for the cars, so that when there is vehicle accidents, if I remember correctly.
Correct. E-tickets and e-crash, correct.
Yeah, so they'll be able to print the reports at the scene of the accident with these printers.
Yep. We are going to a new report writing system called the Tyler system, and this will expedite the e-crash and the e-ticket, so the guys will out. What usually takes them 20 to 30 minutes to do a crash, probably take them 15, and it takes them 10 to 15 minutes to write a ticket, probably take them 5 to 10. It self-populates everything, so it doesn't matter if they fill out the offense and the court date, it moves them along pretty quick.
Does
we
it
have
right
this-
in the car, too?
I'm sorry.
Does it right in the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's plugged right into our laptop, and everything is, I mean, the printer's about that big, and it's right next to your computer. And they just feed the paper in, it prints it right out for them. So I went over, and Bartonville has them right now, and they love them, and Peoria has them as well. So we're
Fair enough. Any comments or questions to Trustee Weisenberg or Chief Ahart? Okay, hearing none. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And as Trustee Reichert pointed out, I don't want to shortchange the Peoria Heights Community Band, so approval of the donation in the amount of $1,000 to Peoria Heights Community Band. Trustee DeVore.
I make a motion to approve the donation in the amount of $1,000 to the Peoria Heights Community Band.
Second.
Motion by Trustee DeVore, seconded by Trustee Weisenberg. Trustee DeVore.
Yeah, so the Peoria Heights Band, this year is their 40th anniversary, and for several years, I don't know how many, we have donated to them to help keep them up and running of the amount of $1,000. And so they are just looking to continue this partnership in music with us to help support them to continue to be around.
Any comments or questions?
I hope they'll keep this in mind when we approach them for the 250th.
Okay, we'll let them know.
Yeah, let them know we're gonna be asking them to
I
perform
think
some
that's
patriotic songs.
completely fair.
They take requests.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. We're now down to approval of change orders for water filtration plant. Trustee Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion for approval of charge orders for water filtration plant.
Second?
A motion by Trustee Simmons, seconded by Trustee Kazam.
Thank you. We are in need of additional investigations with the water treatment plant that is below the hill. And it is necessary that we have additional analysis on the soil and the slope of this area. We are going to need to add additional $50,000 for this project. This project is to help us make sure that that hill is safe, that we don't have any landslides. Additional topography study is going to be needed to do horizontal and vertical outlay of the project up there, or I should say down there. It's kind of hard to determine because it's down below the hill, but it's up the hill above that freight service. And I know that Mark Lee is here if anybody has any engineering questions that he would be able to help me with. But it is definitely something that we need to move forward. And Terracon is the contractor that Woodard and Curran had come in December, and they found out that it is definitely needed for us to do additional investigations on that property. Go ahead, you had a question?
No, I want you to finish, and then I do have a question.
All right. We're going to be focusing on the behavior of the earth materials, again, the soil and the rock. And in description of work, this project is going to include site cleaning and preparation of $25,000, geotechnical field work of $13,000, and geotechnical analysis of $12,000. And that's where I came with a total of $50,000 to conclude this project with the analysis portion of it.
So when they first bid the project, they didn't take into consideration, did they come to the site?
There was analysis done, an investigation in December, which is part of the process that was originally planned. But unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball when it comes to when you get into a project like this. And they've determined that they need to analyze more the area to make sure that we build a more solid retaining wall to avoid any destruction later on. We want to do it the right way for the first time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just curious, because when I hear change orders, usually that means that we, as a village or customer, have decided to change things, and then it's going to add cost to what has already been bid. But this is something that was bid by the contractor, and now they're realizing after the fact that they need to do more structural or like retaining walls because of the topography in the area?
So Woodard and Curran already had a geotechnical allowance for somebody to come in and do a geotechnical investigation. The results of that investigation kind of gave their structural engineer some pause. There's some not great soils in the area, and so you're kind of left with two choices once you have that information. Number one is to get more information to know exactly how deep the wall needs to be, what kind of setup, or you just really overbuild the wall. The much cheaper option is to build the correct wall as opposed to really overbuild. The other part of this is $25,000 is for the clearing. That would have happened during the main construction project anyway. So you're not gonna see it like an apples for apples with the actual construction project, but that amount of work up top on the hill to clear it in anticipation of building the retaining wall was gonna happen either way. So I would view that more as a wash. This is really a $25,000 increase in the total cost for the village as opposed to a full $50,000 increase. That's a way to look at it anyway.
Okay.
So the $25,000 is essentially gonna come off of the rest of the project.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna like see it as a line item, but
Sure.
basically that work was gonna have to happen no matter what.
Okay.
And if I understand too, that Terracon is available to continue with this work this week on the 19th and the 20th if we move forward with this.
That is correct, yeah.
Proposal.
Most drilling teams, they're either kind of shut down right now because of the weather, or if it's nice weather, they are going full bore. So Terracon happens to have quite a few rigs out of the Quad Cities area. Woodard and Curran have used them before, so they just happen to be available in the area, so that's who they went with.
That name doesn't sound familiar to me. Have we used them in our projects before?
Probably not. Locally, you're going to see, it used to be Whitney and Associates. They got bought out quite a while ago by IMEG. IMEG's also a place over the Quad Cities, but IMEG is the usual person you're gonna see around here. And just so I know that Woodard and Curran reached out to a few people and they tried to get the one that had the quickest schedule. And I think Terracon was the most receptive to getting it done quickly so they can keep going with the design.
Thank you, Mark.
So I don't have any question, just really a comment, one for you, Mark. So is the location of this building, because there's a building across the river, Serenity Healthcare, that recently closed. But they too built their building right on the bluff. And they suffered mold damage from like underground springs and mudslides. Like, are we accounting for that? Would this account for some of that with that wall?
Yeah, so they generally build these, and of course it's not completed yet, but they'll generally build them a little bit taller, right? And we'll have a little cap on the top to kind of account for some of this. The main concern that we have really for the location is that since we already have the existing treatment plant sitting right there, all the pipes are coming in, the tower, everything is right there. The farther away you move it, the more the cost, because now you're adding in more water main back and forth, you have different power, now you have power already in this location, you have to run power to another location, it just increases the cost quite a bit. So really needs to, best case scenario for the village financially is to put it where the existing one is, as close as they can. Unfortunately, because, it's a big hill, we're gonna have to build a pretty tall wall to keep this in that area.
Okay.
Is not as ideal as a flat piece of land, of course, this drives up the cost, but the cost to have moved it somewhere else would just put them that much greater because all the existing infrastructure is already here.
And that wall would mitigate any issues from mudslides or?
I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you that. I would say, generally, when you're building it just to hold back everything. If something happened at the top of the hill and caused the entire thing to slough off, no wall we build is gonna handle that. That's just kind of an act of God type of thing. But it will be built a little bit taller so that if there is, a little bit of rocks, whatever, that it does just hit that. And this isn't gonna be like a wood stick building. This is gonna be a CMU building, concrete masonry unit. So it's not gonna be made out of straw. It's not gonna, like a house, right? It won't break as easily. It'll be a little bit more tougher than that. So if something does happen, you would think you'd get best case scenario out of the damage.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions of the,
So would this come out of the general fund for next fiscal year, yes, or this year?
We'll be able to absorb this budget.
Okay.
I think the comments you all raised were valid ones, and I appreciate Mark making sure that we keep on schedule, but also made sure we're aware of some of these items as they come up in ample time so that we can pass those on to the board and have the board input into some of the decisions that need to be made. quickly. So I appreciate Mark and Trustee Simmons for some of the discussions we've had on this week, and I look forward to more work moving forward on this project.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hearing no other questions or comments, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are now down to approval of council engagement for PFAS class action litigation. I did not assign this specifically to a trustee. I know that PFAS is thought of water, so Trustee Simmons, if you want to take this real quickly, and then you can pass it to council.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion for approval of council engagement for PFAS class action litigation.
Second.
Thank you. Do you want to pass it to?
I would like to pass it to
Okay.
council, please.
Sure, absolutely. So what's before the council this evening is a approval to enter into an engagement agreement with a Chicago law firm who is handling a class action lawsuit. What this would do would be engaging this law firm to evaluate any claims and pursue those claims on behalf of the village via this class action lawsuit regarding contamination in the water supply for these PFAS forever chemicals. This engagement, it's a class action, so what's going to happen is uncertain. The important thing here is it's at no cost to the village to move forward with this. It would be a contingency fee case, so the plaintiff's counsel would take a cut of it if recovery is available. But at this point, it's getting involved with the lawsuit, not having any cost at this time.
Who would we be suing?
I'm sorry?
Who would we be suing?
Who's the
Who's the
plaintiff
defendant?
and who's the defendant?
So at this point, it's evaluating moving forward into that arena.
Okay.
So it's just finding somebody to sue for the PFAS?
Well,
Well,
it's going on all over the place.
Right.
A number of municipal, and he can certainly speak to that more
Yeah.
confidently.
Many cities in Illinois have already been part of a large federal litigation against 3M and DuPont.
Yeah, I was
It's
just gonna say,
all over
3M.
the news. It's not a secret to anybody. There was a multi-billion-dollar settlement for that. Many cities in the area, specifically near the Mississippi River, that had more of a concentration of PFAS than near the Illinois River, have already received a large cut of that. So to what she's referring to, that was not a one and done. This is an ongoing process for probably multiple decades in the future.
Okay.
Just for my fellow board members, there's a documentary on 3M and DuPont that I recommend all you guys watch, because most of the stuff was manufactured in like the 60s and 70s, and they call it a forever chemical because it doesn't go away. So I think they've cleaned up their act a lot here in recent years, but like before they really knew the full extent of these chemicals, they were everywhere in everything.
They are. That's right.
So.
If there is a settlement on this, what's the split between us, the victim, and the law firm?
Council would take a third, which is the
Okay.
typical rate plus costs.
Okay, and that's pretty typical on
Yes.
something like this?
It
Okay.
is. And this particular firm, I know Mark Walton has reviewed the engagement agreement and has worked with them in the past with other municipalities as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
And on the water thing, just real quickly, Mayor, I don't think PFAS has been found in our water supply yet. But we're planning the filtration to address PFAS, which is, I think, very responsible of this board, because that is nasty stuff. And we should be building out our filtration to filter that, irregardless of a state mandate at some point, because I think we should do it. I know it's expensive, the storage and disposal of this stuff is expensive, but I think we need to move towards it because it is pretty nasty stuff.
And I really appreciate you, Trustee Weisenberg, pointing out, one, that we are proactively getting involved in this legislation, in this litigation. This has not been identified, and this is not a scare or red flag about our water here in Peoria Heights. We are just proactively getting involved with this potential litigation. And again, proactively, we have future-proofed our filtration system so that these PFAS can be addressed when the time comes. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
any more discussion on this item? Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now down to the first review of fiscal year 2026, 2027 budget. Trustee DeVore?
Yeah, so you have the documents in front of you, but I'm gonna let Stephanie take us through this, because this is also my first review.
Yeah, before Stephanie starts, I just want all the trustees to review their worksheets in front of them tonight. If they have any issues, questions, or changes, please email or call me. If you have some major questions tonight, we can address them, but take these home, look at them, and let me know what issues you have so we can move forward to the next meeting and come back with a second round.
Okay. Okay. So, let's see how let's go. First is a big overview of where all of the funds are and where the entire year is going to end up. The good news is that the primary funds, the general fund, the water fund, are both looking to have a surplus at the end of next fiscal year. Some of the restricted funds are running deficits, but that's because a lot of these funds are used as project funds, capital improvement funds. They have specific projects that they save up for, and they have projects that they are going to be executing, which I think is pretty exciting to see that, you know, the process is working and we're getting some things done. Moving on specifically to the general fund, the projections are coming in this year higher than anticipated from the budget, which is very good news. We're looking to have a surplus at the end of this fiscal year. And next year, as I already mentioned, there will be a surplus as well with this first budget draft. The general fund revenues pretty much have stayed the same. You'll see that sales tax continues to be the main source of our income, with state and home rule making up approximately 41% of our total revenues that we're anticipating to receive in next fiscal year. The next one comes in at 17%, which is state income tax. While not a sales tax, it still is a massive portion of our budget. The waste disposal fees have moved up to start to be 9% of our revenues, but that's because they are a significant portion of our budget, so they're offsetting that.
Hey, Stephanie,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. Do you want us to ask questions as in the moment or wait until the end?
If you want to ask in the moment and I can answer, I will try, but if I can't, I'll defer you till I can get to my spreadsheets in the
Yeah, so
background.
just some clarification. The state income tax, that's money that's coming from the paychecks of the citizens that live within the village of Peoria Heights, is that correct?
So specifically, technically, yes, okay. So the way that the state works is they have the state income tax, which is paid either through your tax filings or through deductions on your paycheck. The state of Illinois reserves a portion of that for themselves, and then they put a portion into what's called the local distribution fund. It is then from there that municipalities receive a portion of that fund based on per capita.
Okay.
So that particular line item is our per capita portion of the part of the state income tax that are set aside for local government.
Okay. And then when we make like purchases online, I see a lot of times where it says city and then like 1.5%. That's probably in the home rule sales tax?
It should be now. So one of the things that you might see if you're looking in the details is there's a line item called local use tax. You'll notice that it has gone down significantly, and that is because local use tax used to report all sales tax, just kind of all lumped in there, and the state has started reclassifying how they report those taxes. So local use tax has gone down as those are starting to be reported in state sales tax and in home rule sales tax. So you've seen those increase more than expected because of their offsetting.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the revenues?
Does this break down the corporate replacement tax?
The personal property replacement tax is actually in the yellow little square that is 12%. There are some other taxes that are in there, but it is broken down specifically within the budget as its own line item. We share the personal property replacement tax, or PPRT. We actually are obligated to send a specific set percentage of that to the library. That's all based on what happened in the law as it was written when the corporate taxes were changed in the 60s or 70s? 70s, thank you, sir.
Would the all other tax include the gaming? revenue and things of that nature?
Yes, so one
Okay.
of the things that's in that 12%, that yellow chunk, is also video gaming tax.
Okay.
So does this board set the home rules percentage of sales tax?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and then we also we set the food and beverage tax as well.
That's correct.
But the state income tax and the state sales tax, that we have no control over that.
The only thing that potentially the board has control over, the grocery tax would be reported within the state sales tax portion of it. Going forward, it might move, now it wouldn't be in home rule, it should still be in state. But other than that, it's just a straight 1% of the state sales tax comes to us.
And that food and beverage tax that was enacted in 2015, I believe, that does affect every food and beverage sale through the entire municipality. Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Moving on to the expenses, the next slide shows you a breakdown of how the village is spending its money by departments. The police department still remains a large portion, but we're also seeing the fire department grow as a percentage as we are reinvesting in the fire department. Street department this year is having kind of a quiet year in regrouping, but admin is picking up some projects. Tower is still kind of a small portion, but we do a loved portion. And you can see there that, as I mentioned, the 9% of our revenues and equal 9% of our expenses are that waste disposal contract. To break down each of the groups into their own self, I have slides that show what exactly each department is spending. For administration, it spends a good portion of it on payroll, but it also covers a lot of the professional services, including things like the contracts with our village council, contracts with our community development director, our contracts with our PR consultants, and any of the professional services which are engaged for the village as a whole typically are coming underneath a village, the admin department. Fire expenses, as they're growing, you'll see that they're kind of going in a similar direction to the PD, where they're going to have a lot of their expenses in their payroll. So at 64%, they are getting coverage, good coverage, but they're also balancing and trying to make sure that they have other things. So there is some money in the equipment and the vehicles. They have money for their operating costs, and then, of course, asset maintenance, where they keep working on the equipment and the vehicles to make sure that they're in good working order. Of note, the equipment vehicle line, you might notice, is a little higher than normal for the fire department, even though this is kind of new. Their budget this year does include right now a earmark of $100,000 towards the cost of a vehicle purchase. So start chipping away the cost of that and start saving that fund.
Right, I had Stephanie put that in there because I know that the board discussed that at one time. I know that's gonna probably take further discussion, but I did have her put that in the budget because we wanted to move towards that. And how that looks is up to you, but that is in there right now, so.
Yeah, I spoke with Chief Sentes today, and he is going to be looking into financing options. I know the state has some stuff that they bring out, they roll out every now and then, low interest loans and that kind of thing. But right now, we do have our main fire engine is at the 10-year mark, which is kind of the expectancy of it. And our backup, which would be a ladder truck, is 20 years, and then the truck after that is 30. So what we're looking at is, for example, if we had the main fire engine go down, we had that out of service for, about a month and a half recently. So we were relying on a 20-year-old truck. So right now, we're kind of at the time frame that their recommendation is to start replacing.
And you'll
frontline
also
vehicles.
notice that the balloon payment of $213,707 has been removed. That, again, has been paid off this year if that's what they see fit moving forward. So we'll eliminate the debt services. We do have one balloon payment left on one of the fire engines. So that's why that shows zero.
Which line item is that?
So it is in the budget details. If
Yeah.
you look, it is 6250 on the fire section. You'll see in the projections for this fiscal year, I think it's about $213,000 total.
Okay, so, but we have been putting $49,237 towards the debt service prior to this?
Yes.
Annually. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that we're gonna put $213,707 from the surplus that we have on to pay off this balloon budget.
Correct.
Then we're gonna put another $100,000 of surplus onto this, plus an additional $25,000 into training, all in this budget, right now.
5,000 for training.
Okay,
So-
well, yeah, 'cause it's closer to 30. So I mean, I hear you that the truck is at 10 years old. We have trucks that are 20 years old. Like, I hear all of that, Trustee Steinwedel. I mean, can you get us a list of like, what is wrong with all the current rigs that we have now? Because I feel like we've asked for that and we haven't seen it. So, I mean, maybe someone else has and I just haven't. So I want the department to have everything that they need, but like, it's hard to sit here and say, like, we need to dump this money into a fire engine when we also need to make sure we have clean drinking water, when I don't know what's wrong with the rigs and why they're not working, because other departments are working with 20-year-old vehicles and they're operating just fine. So for me, when we have all this stuff coming down on the pipeline, I have a hard time putting back an additional $100,000 when we have all of these things coming down the pipeline. When we talked about putting money back to start preparing for this truck, I thought we were looking more at the current debt service that we were already paying. So continuing to put away around the $50,000 a year towards a truck, not this lump sum of $213 plus an additional $100,000. I don't know how my fellow trustees feel, but I'm a little apprehensive for that, knowing what else we have coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, I did think that we were gonna continue the 50,000 a year. I thought that was our original discussion.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, and that's why I said earlier that I knew that was gonna be a discussion because the board's talked about this and there's been a few different, options. But Chief Sendon's done a great job of identifying all the repairs that need to be done to his equipment. And I'd ask him for him to email that to the board if they would, just so they have an idea of kind of what this cost is gonna look like, so. But yeah, some of them are costly. I mean, they're not the price of a fire engine, of course, but he's done a nice job of identifying that and keeping what we have, currently in the bays up and running, so.
It just would be nice to be able to compare, like, what are we outputting to keep them up and running a little while longer versus buying, preparing to buy a new engine when we have all of these other things that we have coming down the line. Like, the wish list for this village is very large and it's becoming very hard to prioritize, like, what we need to do at the right amount of time. So I'm just nervous to dump the whole surplus right away until we can identify, like, Woodard and Kern just asked for another $50,000, like what else is coming? We have the 29 projects. So I'm just apprehensive and it would be helpful, Chief, if you could send that so that we can kind of compare before we have to approve this budget.
Absolutely. We've got a list of stuff that we've been going through, and honestly, I think the repairs have been escalating in speed and expense the older the vehicles get. So at some point, we start to look at what it's costing us to maintain and keep them on the roads.
Sure, but
as
we
opposed to,
haven't even utilized the full budget for this year for replacements. I'm not saying that there's not things that need to be done, right?
There is, yes, yeah.
I understand that. So I just want to see us like using the money that we are allocating for those things so that everything is taken care of. Like, I have said this over and over again, I don't want to expect, 100% effort or response out of a department that we're only funding 60%, but I need the full story to be able to
yeah,
push for that.
and we can do that. That was something that when I came into office, that was something I was fighting for, was just a list of everything wrong with the vehicles to get them all up and running.
Yeah.
Chief Sent has done an amazing job at that. Everything's getting certified. We have daily checks and everything like that, but we do have some vehicles that it's getting to the point where I think, what's our oldest engine below the hill? 35 years old. How much money are we willing to dump into a 35-year-old engine to make sure it's up and running at this point, so.
Yeah, I mean, also, so if we could have what needs to be done, and then also, if one of you could provide to us how often these rigs are going down and for how long they're going down, right?
Absolutely.
Like, how long are you without equipment?
That's fair, yeah.
I just feel like we need, I'm so happy you guys are working together and you know what's going on, but it would just be helpful for all of
Yeah,
us to know.
we can put all that into a spreadsheet for you and give you an update on everything. I think, when Chief Artist was here, from what I remember, just the age of the vehicles that we have, the average age is like 17 and a half years or something like that. So, I mean, we do have a fairly old fleet, and the recommendations, on the National Fire Services, you know, I think what about 10 years is what they start to recommend on some of these. Yeah, so, you know, I just want to make sure that we've got, you know, we're able to respond to the calls we need to respond to.
Absolutely. So,
And
I mean, but I do think it's great to like, let's take care of the debt that we have for the departments that's off their line
Yeah.
item and continue to work forward at least at the 50,000, you know, that we're already for
Yeah.
decades been putting in. So let's
Yeah,
just
I
keep
think-
doing that.
I think just looking at it with the deferred maintenance that's coming up and the, you know, the depreciation of the trucks and the way that they, you know, the way it's going, it's actually probably gonna be, and we'll work together on this and kind of show you, I think it's gonna be fiscally responsible to put together that $100,000 a year for the vehicle, you know.
Sure. I
keep
mean, I
that
hear
going.
you. I also think that we need to take into consideration too, like, at what point are you ready to start bonding? Because we only have so much in funds. And I mean, we are looking to potentially have a loss of some money in the general fund coming up. But then we have increases in other areas.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna continue to budget conservatively, what is the top priority, right? Like, everything isn't a priority. The fire's a priority, but like, for me, the water is the top priority. So like, at what point are we willing to start bonding? Because we can't afford to do all the things.
Well, I think what this does is if we have this money set aside and we budget this appropriately now, and we had talked about this today, if the federal government or state does open up a grant, or if we do have a representative that comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna get you some state money to help out, we've got our portion of that set aside, ready to go. 'Cause a lot of these grants, as you know, I mean.
There's a match, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta match it, and if, you know, we're sitting here with our pockets empty, we're kind of I'd rather have some money set aside, ready to go, so that when the opportunity does arise, and I'm not saying we're looking at, you know, top-tier trucks or anything like that, what we're looking at is reasonable stuff, we're looking at used stuff, we're looking at making the best use of our dollar, because obviously it's not our money, so I think that having that money in the pocket ready to go, and in the budget ready to go, just makes that decision so much easier, because sometimes these things come up, they're quick, we don't have the opportunity to really, you know, sit around for 6 months or a year and say, yes, we're gonna take that next year.
Sure,
So-
I mean, I hear you, I hear all of your reasoning, and I know it's your
Yeah.
department, and I know you have their best interest at heart. Being that my department is this budget, we're already putting in an additional $215,000. If we didn't
Yeah.
have that balloon payment, I might feel a little differently about it, and you're still gonna have $50,000 on reserve. Also, I think administration does really well every time we say, how high can you jump? I feel like he works really hard to try to find the money, so given the face that we were in the grant, I feel like there are fluid funds that he could help to make that happen, but I think the 100,000 is a mistake at
I
this point.
think, so the 215,000.
One quick thing, so, if you would just address comments to me, and then, you know, rather than going back and forth.
Sure.
Sure. You know, I think the 215,000, Mr. Mayor, and I did refer to Administrator Sutton on this, were we aware of the 215,000 all along, or was that something that predates all of us here sitting here right now and kind of?
That was before me. I was aware that at the end of the life of this, there was a balloon payment. So I
Yeah.
was aware of that, but it was prior to me being here.
Yeah, and from my understanding, we were thinking it was gonna be a lot smaller balloon payment than, from what I had heard, than the 215,000, so that was kind of a, you know, here we go, we've
big-
got this to look
big-
at or refinance, so,
It's a big balloon.
yes, it is,
It
yeah.
is. Mr. Mayor, the only other thing I want to add is that I do feel like this board has been really influential when we've had extra money at the end of the year, and we know that we have things like this. This board has dumped a lot of money into the debt that we had in the police pension fund, and I just think if at the end of the year, there's still this $100,000 left, obviously, we could move it over. But I think if we are going to try to budget conservatively and to be able to pay for all of these upcoming capital improvement projects that we have in working on our, you know, depleting infrastructure, how it's degraded over years, I just think that part should be left towards those kind of projects, in the 50,000 stay for a reserve for the fire engine.
I appreciate, because I understand, and I appreciate what you said, Trustee DeVore, and I think every department has some wants and needs. It's competitive, especially at this time of budget year, you know, where, you know, Trustee Steinwedel may want some money for a fire engine. You know, Trustee Reichert may want to add money for the streets and, you know, make our things a little bit sooner. So I think everybody has a priority here, and, you know, I think this kind of dialogue is good to know where your priorities are as a board.
So just some clarity, Mayor. So if we were to leave if we were to take the $100,000 off the fire budget this year, that would leave our projected surplus for next year at $230,000. Because right now with the 155, our surplus is estimated at 130. So that would take it to 230
Yes,
if thing goes well.
if nothing catastrophic
Right.
happens.
And I
And I
feel
know,
like a little
and I know this year we're in now, 25, 26, when we did this budget year, our estimated surplus was like 10,000.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm kind of a glass half full kind of guy.
Well, I think, and I think
Maybe we'll
that's.
end next year at 600,000, and then we can divert that $100,000 into the fire department.
Right, I think,
But
and
let's-
I think, you know, you have perfectly good reason to be a glass half full person, because statistically, administration through Administrator Sutton as well as Clerk Turner have been very good at being fiscally responsible. We as a board have not gone overboard, and I think you have very good reason to be optimistic about that and having that down the road. And I think, you know, as far as a testament to our dedication to and our appreciation of the fire department, that we're prepared to spend 50% of our surplus on the fire department in this balloon payment of almost $250,000 should be also acknowledged.
Yeah, that's, Mr. Mayor, that's awesome that we have that money available to do that. We're not, you know, our backs aren't up against the wall on that. And, you know, I agree with Trustee Weisenberg on this. Knowing what we have coming down the pipe, the development pipeline, and the new businesses that are coming to the Heights and what we are going to be seeing, you know, I think that the surplus, and I think Administrator Sutton can attest to this, he's always been conservative, you know, shoot for the moon, but, you know, don't overpromise what you're going for. So, and I think he's always done a great job of that, and, you know, I'm comfortable with that, the $100,000 sitting in there. I don't think it's gonna affect village operations at all.
Unless I use it for the 250th, just saying. I'm still waiting on my budget for that.
Trustee Reichert, I do have bad news. That would have been an administration, and I have not allocated anything specific as of yet. Well, I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, good, yeah,
You
good.
can address that.
Send that email, send that email.
check.
That'll be a call.
Any other comments on this particular line item in the budget? Out of a few more line items?
All right, moving on to the police department, you'll see that about 3/4 of their budget is on personnel. This is pretty standard for the police department. The remaining costs go to things, you'll see that equipment and vehicles, primarily equipment this year. I believe that there is a plan to replace one vehicle perhaps. But there are some equipment purchases that need to be made, and then also the costs to outfit that vehicle are included in the equipment costs. Beyond that, it's a combination of professional services, things like contracts that they have with different software providers that help with the cameras in the cars, the cameras that do the license plate readers, the contract for the taser guns, I believe, is still in there. Operating costs includes a lot of things like, you know, office supplies, but also ammunition, things that they need. There is not a lot of fluff in this department. do not know how the PD operates, but they do an excellent job with what they have and making good use of it.
I do just want to also point out briefly, and it's a testament to this administration, and what we've done over the last 10 years is our police pension fund is funded 78.2%. And where we were 10 years ago, that's amazing. So just to applaud everybody sitting up here, and previous administrations have started that, so.
And I just, as reference, I think Peoria mentioned last meeting that they're at 66. So just something to think about.
I do have a question. So on this, we're only replacing one vehicle this year, in this budget year. What is our rotation? Because didn't it used to be two? And then we drop it to one?
It did, and then we bought an extra in with the surplus last year, so it caught us up. So one of the oldest cars will be traded out of the fleet, if I'm correct, Chief Ahart, yes. So the rest of our vehicles, if you look at our vehicle maintenance, it's been way down compared to previous years because of the age of our vehicles. And we're also going to four-wheel drive vehicles. It's been very efficient, and we haven't really had a lot of problems with them, so.
Okay. So what's our number? How many are in the fleet?
11.
11 in the fleet?
Yep.
And what's the oldest one?
Right now, it's one we're getting ready to trade, and I think it's a 2017,
Okay.
I believe.
So then, moving forward, we're thinking we would have one vehicle replacement a year?
Yep.
Okay.
The former chief did a really good job rotating those out every 5 years, so.
So if I'm looking at the line item on the detail click turner, 6249, that number for the projected is, or for the budgeted, that's to equip the car?
Not all of that. It includes several things, but there is some funding in there specifically for the cost to outfit the car.
Okay, as well as other things that you listed already?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's why equipment's been raised also for that purpose, so some does come out of equipment.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
All right. Moving on to streets, they are having kind of a quiet year. There's a little bit of money in here for everything for the good to continue their normal projects. But they have not at this point in time asked for any specific large project, but they're just gonna kind of continue with the striping, the road maintenance, the parks and the flowers, all of that will continue.
So this is another area where I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Trustee Simmons asked if signage was included. There are funds, every year they replace a certain number of traffic signs per regulations, and those are included.
Okay.
But like wayfinding signs, which is a conversation we've been having frequently, are not included.
Not at this time.
Okay.
Not without, but the board is.
And we will send you emails, obviously, between this meeting and the next meeting.
Also, to note on here, Trustee Weisenberg and I have been asking for the entire reign that we've been sitting up here, that we start saving money for curbs and sidewalks.
Yes.
Because there are multiple streets that are crumbling and or people have no curbs and sidewalks. And this line item is also zero, so I do think that's, I understand that we don't have the money to go out and do a bunch of curbs and sidewalks, but I do think that we need to be saving for it, because the last quote I was given from the superintendent of the street department was like $250,000 per side, per block to do that. Yeah, so $500,000 just per block to do curbs and sidewalks, and they're not getting any better, so I think we also need to take that into consideration.
Very fair. And to your point on, Trustee Kazam, on signs and signage, Trustee DeVore and I had discussed a tourism grant that I know Mark is still working on. We're still just waiting to hear back from. So some signage will be able, hopefully, to be covered if we are successful in that grant.
Okay, thank you.
That's wonderful.
Moving on to the tower, this is pretty much a small bump over last year, mainly inflation costs. We'll continue to have the tower open. I believe we're doing Thursday through Sunday now. Typical hours, some costs in case the tower has any issues, built in an average cost for that. If we have large emergencies, we don't want to budget for that. That's It restricts funds. So we tend to do the average. That way, if we have a good year, we're good. If we aren't, we're making a good progress towards a bad year. So these are all pretty standard, not a lot of it honestly is utilities and maintenance. Moving on, the packet itself goes into the restricted funds, but the presentation actually skips towards the last couple of pages, which is the water budget, which is one of our other largest funds, our second largest fund. The budget itself for the water department, you'll notice that next year it jumps significantly, and that is where we start to see those capital improvement projects coming in. So what I've done with the presentation is I have slides that discuss both the one-off projects, those special projects, and then other slides that discuss the more normal annual expenses, so that we have, if you're looking back on previous presentations or previous years, you have something to compare to see like to like. So the next slide gives you an idea of what I'm talking about versus normal expenses versus capital improvements. You can see that for capital improvements, we actually have over $12 million in revenues budgeted with $11.8 million in expenditures. The reason that those two are off is because we're getting a offset between reimbursement from grant funds, from SRF funds, loan funds, versus we pay and get reimbursed typically. So this year we're at a little bit of a deficit on that side. Next year we'll be at a surplus. Those all wash out. We keep very close eye to make sure that all the projects are tying out the way they should be. Water and Kern helps with that a lot. So that all washes out. There is a deficit that is currently projected in the normal side of expenses for water. It's complicated, and I'll explain that in a little more detail on the next slide. Sorry, the following slide. First, we look at revenues. As is normal, the residential water sales, commercial sales, make up the significant portion of the revenues for the Waterworks company. This is mainly funded by the water rates that the residents pay. The expenses, this is where things get a little more interesting. You'll notice that professional services makes up 26% of this expenses. It's rivaling payroll, which normally payroll would be a much more significant percentage. We're seeing more engineering costs come in, and as we're moving through the project phase, the engineering starts prior to the construction, so we're paying out engineering costs as designs and preliminary costs go through, and continuing to work through funding options and different ways to pay for different projects. So some of these expenses we might be able to get reimbursed via projects and funds grants later on. Particularly the one that is going to be impacting most in next fiscal year is Route 29. Right now we do have some offset to that project, but we're still discussing options for funding that and how we want to do that. So for now, it is fully baked into the normal costs of the water budget, but that is something that is a worst case scenario that might evolve later on in the year. The next slide is to give you an idea of what those $12 million are going to purchase. The fiscal year 25, the first round of lead service line replacements is still working its way through our books, so construction has finished. They are wrapping up, I believe, and still doing final inspections, and the company itself still needs to come out and do some cleanup, make sure everything's right. Then Woodard and Kern will come through and make sure that everything is done to contract and to our satisfaction. So payment will be delayed while those things work through, but the construction is done. At the same time, we're going to be beginning the first part of the replacement program for the next year. So the full cost of that has been put into this budget so that we can pay for that. The expenses and the revenues will not actually come fully through next year, but we budget this way so that we are covered and we know that these expenses are cared for. And then we'll reassess next year. We'll see that the projections are probably lower than what we've budgeted, and then we'll have similar budgets in the following year where they're high, but they'll come in lower. The replacement for next year has a principal forgiveness already funded and low-interest loan already in place. So those will be added into our budget, the annual loan payments, as that process gets constructed and we start getting to where we need to repay that. We will also be beginning the second round of line inventory. It is primarily paid for by a grant, but there is $20,000 in the normal water expenses for our portion that we need to pay for. The water main replacement, Galena Road and Route 29, which I already mentioned. The engineering designs are in normal water expenses as we're getting those now and starting to do those. We do have some funds to offset construction, and the last update that I had is that currently it's looking like they might send it out to bid in March of 2027. By the time they bid that out, it's going to be past the end of our fiscal year, so I'm not anticipating any construction costs in next fiscal year. That will be addressed in the following budget next year. That is partially funded by federal funds, as mentioned. And then finally, the big one, the one that is the majority of the $12 million, is the water treatment plant. Design and engineering has already begun. Woodard and Kern has estimated that they're going to have that phase done by summer 27, or 26, I'm very sorry. And they're estimating that construction could begin as early as late 2026. So I have put the full cost of that into this. I don't anticipate that it will actually work that we bill and pay out, but again, we're covered in case the worst case scenario, it does all come through. But the good news about that is that it is covered by principal forgiveness and a low interest note loan as well. Any questions?
That sounds great.
Okay. The restricted funds, this is where I talked about, these are primarily project driven. The police pension fund actually doesn't even have a slide. I forgot. It doesn't have a slide because it is functionally in and out. We levy, and then as soon as it comes in, it is transferred to the police pension fund. The budget lists $525,000. That is basically a financial thing because we don't know exactly how much we're going to get in from the levy. There's usually adjustments to property taxes. We budget over. The actual levy, I believe, is closer to $450,000. This will, like I said, it's one-to-one. As soon as the money comes in, it goes straight back to the pension fund. The amount that the board levied at $450,000, I believe, if I recall correctly, the DOI, Department of Insurance, recommended that the village contribute $425,000, actually. So a little bit of an extra payment to them, which will just continue to chip away at that unfunded liability and get that percentage higher. Motor fuel tax, you'll notice, is one of the funds that is running at a deficit. That's because it is going to take on a larger project. It is going to be funding the, it's going to be taking on a larger seal coating project. It's actually going to be taking on a 2 years worth of spray patching in anticipation of, we're looking to try to bring down, this is actually at Mayor's request, try to bring down the amount of time it takes us to do regular maintenance on the roads. And in anticipation of that, we have put in extra spray patching. The engineers spoke with Chris and I, our Superintendent Chandler and I, and this was their recommendation of how to get started on that. It will allow us to do the spray patching most efficiently, and it also gives us options that if we have the funds in order to do 2 years of seal coating, we can. If we can do 1.5 years, we can do that, and if we can only do 1 year, it'll still wait, and we'll just save some money on spray patching next year. So this gives us optimal flexibility while also moving us towards bringing down that time. The other thing is there is a large expense that is in miscellaneous, and that is the village's portion of the ADA compliant sidewalks on Glen Avenue. The board still needs to decide whether they want that funded via MFT, BDD, TIF, or a combination thereof. For now, it is present in some amount in each of the funds.
What is our portion of that? The total cost of the portion of that?
$375,000 is our match.
Okay, so but that's in the motor fuel tax fund, not spread apart. I'm sorry, I'm confused.
No, it's in there. There is a little bit that is in BDD and TIF. I'm not putting $375,000 in each. The majority of it is in MFT.
Okay.
Business Development District. The bulk of this is currently for village portion of grant costs. Right now, it has a significant portion that we've been doing the work on Prospect Road, the phase 1, and we have been being reimbursed, but we do have a portion that we need to match with that. I'm anticipating that our portion is basically going to be the last portion that gets paid. As of right now, we've been submitting the bills and getting reimbursed back for them. At some point, we will continue to be billed and have run out of funds that we will be reimbursed, and so our portion will come at the very end. It continues to do its normal projects with funding the community development and the community development director, as well as the matching grants for businesses. TIF increment, we typically do not actually budget this because the TIF documents, the setup of the TIF themselves establishes a budget for the life of the TIF. I do like to provide this for the board to give you an idea of what kind of things the TIF is anticipating in the coming year. The vast majority of the TIF actually is allocated to either developers in pay-as-you-go agreements or to reimbursing the school district, as we do reimburse them a portion of the TIF property taxes we receive in order to make sure that they are whole. The rest of that is going towards engineering, and they also along with BDD, are allocating funds towards the Prospect Road project. Moving on to the SSA, this is kind of a amalgamation of all of the development agreements. Each one of the development agreements requires that we contain the funds and send them to the developers. So as you would expect, primarily this goes to the developers. There are also the bond payments that we make on behalf of one of the development agreements, as well as professional services and administrative fees that go with the running of the SSA. And then finally, the water side has the INF, or the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund. What we almost always do with this fund is project out what we intend to receive and then spend that fund down to zero. I do not anticipate that we will actually spend this fund down to zero. We won't do that. We will never do that unless something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. This is a accounting and finance flexibility option. This is a great source for the village if they have any sort of emergency or something that they decide that they want to take on mid-year. Those extra funds that are in the INF can then be voted on, and the board can allocate these funds without having to go back and reopen the budget. Right now, I would suggest, especially considering that the normal water expenses have a deficit when not being offset by the capital expenses, this is what the board could consider is using some of these funds to fund a specific project within the INF or within the water company, like ice pigging or some of the valve replacements, some of the things that we do to help maintain the system itself. And that is the budget for the next fiscal year.
Nice job, Stephanie.
Thank you, Clerk Turner and Chief Sutton and all of administration for their really hard work. Trustee DeVore, your department as well. This is a really good, balanced budget. It's come, second nature is what we've come to expect. So, I don't want you to think that we're resting on our laurels. We really do appreciate it. And, this is, again, what we've come to expect, just this kind of good fiscal management. So thank you, Chief Sutton. Thank you, Clerk Turner.
Absolutely.
Okay, we are now down to general comments from the audience. If you would like to make a comment, please come to the podium, give your name, address, try to keep your comment to 5 minutes.
Hi, folks. I am Jonathan Voda, and this is Logan Wheaton. We are with Mount Moon Collective. We do not live in the Peoria Heights.
We don't hold that against anyone, so.
I do. I hope not. I live, we both live in the West Bluff.
If you can't tell, we like it here.
We like spending time here. It's a nice part of town. But we were involved in orchestrating an event that happened last year on Labor Day weekend. We call it Mount Moon Fest. We've come in front of you before to kind of update you on it before. And we kind of wanted to just, on a future agenda, you will see very soon that we will be requesting the the block of, 4500 block of Prospect again. And so we wanted to kind of give you some updates about what we've been working on. This event is now a fiscally sponsored program of a 501c3 nonprofit. Every time we've done this, we've raised money for a given local charity. Last year it was Lula. This next year it'll likely be an arts-based nonprofit. But that is to say that while we are not, Mount Moon Collective is not itself a proper IRS designated nonprofit, the programming of this event will be under that designation. That allows us to do certain things that you may be aware of, like tax deductible donations, apply for grants and things like that. We are hoping to have more flexibility with how we fund this event. But that's part of, with having that's part of us making bigger moves to make this event both bigger, but also more, more rigid and more bona fide, I guess.
It provides us with the resources we need to have more structured planning, because we'll know exactly what our budget is moving forward, and we'll be less reliant on
our own money,
and sponsorships from the community. So we can focus more on incorporating the Peoria Heights community itself in terms of a benefit to the community itself, and again, more on infrastructure, and again, making the event bigger, bring more people to the Heights for the weekend, and hopefully bring more revenue into the community.
Yeah, exactly. Did we have anything else we wanted to? That's kind of the spiel. You'll hear from us again very soon.
Yeah, we'll have that on the agenda for our next meeting, and
Okay.
yeah, so if you're willing, 2 weeks, we'll have that on the agenda, and can have more conversation about the dates and get into the weeds a little bit on that.
Yeah,
So,
great.
Mayor, actually, I'd just like to ask, and you heard me say this earlier about a different event happening in the Village of Peoria Heights. I don't know if you're members of the chamber, of our local chamber. You don't have to be a resident of the Village of Peoria Heights to be a member of the chamber. But when you do come before us and ask for the street closures, it's your responsibility to let the other businesses in the community know what's happening and have a conversation about placement of bans or any kind of road.
Yeah. When we were here, what was it, a couple months ago, to kind of update you on what we did, you guys did bring that up, and we're aware. We're going to be very cognizant. Just today, I went and talked to Casa Agave. We've talked with Sullivan's, and
Great.
We're intent on being far more proactive on that inclusion, both from a promotional standpoint, but also from a logistical standpoint.
Great.
But yeah, we were just here today to again say thank you for the opportunity, and we're excited to be a part of this community for that time of year, and we look forward to hopefully planning upon it for this coming summer.
Thank you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank
you. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the audience? Comments going once, twice. Public comments are closed. We're now down to miscellaneous business. Any miscellaneous business to come before the board?
I have a question. So at our last meeting, we chose a date for our 250th, which we then later received an email from you, Mayor, saying that date that we discussed is taken. So do we want to?
It is taken by Tower Park.
Okay.
So if you wanted to utilize Tower Park, Bark in the Park is also happening that time. So if you as a board wanted to use Tower Park for the 250th celebration, it would be difficult to use Tower Park for
I
that.
think that we do. I mean, is that right, trustee Reichert? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So could you get just a couple dates this week and just send us an email and see if we,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Look at all the dates that's already blocked as well.
Okay, I have another question. Mayor, when we were here and we were talking, about the grocery tax, we've talked multiple times about, sending out like a Google Doc or an email or something to gain more information on the opinions of the people outside of the referendum that's going. What is the next step to make that happen? I can't remember if council said that they were gonna put that together, or is that something one of us needs to start working on? Like, what is the next step? Because I think there were other questions and things, that we wanted to poll the community and gain a wider, array of knowledge, especially with some of the doubts of voter turnout on the referendum.
I think, from what I recall from the last meeting, there was some discussion about putting on the water bill. There was some discussion about doing like a Google Doc or something like that. It would be up to the board if they wanted to approve. Just for scheduling, we have moved the regular scheduled meeting in March to March 18th, and on that agenda, per our last meeting, there is a motion to revisit the grocery tax, and I think the action was to, will you remind me, Trustee Steinwaddle, your agenda item was to?
Vote on removing the grocery tax on the 18th.
So on the 18th, so if you did wanted to get some feedback from the public, that would probably be the day to do it prior to that time.
Right, that's why I'm asking, because I feel like we brought it up multiple times, so I guess I just don't know what the next step is to start gaining that knowledge. Like, how do we move forward with putting that information out?
So could we send a letter? Like, we have everyone's address, just send them a letter. One, letting them know about the referendum, and two, gauging their opinion, because I fear if we put a Google Doc or something on the website, how do we stop the pollution from the surrounding area? Like, how do we say that only residents from Peoria Heights have, like, I don't know how we would restrict a Google Doc to just
Are we
Peoria Heights
looking for
citizens.
a response, or are we looking to educate?
No, we're looking for a response.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know one thing, and I think it may be difficult to say. It is kind of late in the game to be inquiring outside of the referendum, but we can do that. I would just, we need board direction. So if you wanted to, appropriate money for a mailing, that's an option, but it could be expensive, and I don't know when it gets out. They're already voting on it.
Address.
Yeah, early
You
voting
can
started
make it a
February
requirement to
10th.
Put your address in on the Google Doc.
how would we verify
And there
that
were
someone's
some
not just putting an
individuals that
address
have
in there?
not received their
No,
vote
I
by mail
understand.
ballot yet, so.
The other thing with the Google Doc too is we have a lot of elderly that might
I know,
not-
so
Don't do,
but
yeah,
I'm just
I agree.
asking.
it's not that the way council has explained it is that you're not gonna get 100% response from any avenue. That's why you take multiple avenues, right? Like,
Right.
we have people come to a meeting, we keep talking about it. We have people that are gonna vote on a referendum. You have other people that aren't gonna do either of those things. So then can they respond some way online? Like, it's taking a collection of data from multiple different ways to make
I
an
gotcha.
educated
Yeah.
decision.
I've got a question. Is there something that we can do with the unsolved notification?
Well, we discussed all of those items, and I don't think there was a winner out of everything. So I think what we need to do is collectively maybe grab a few of them, maybe post it on our website,
Facebook.
notification system, and try to hit as many as we can, because we've discussed this before, and I don't think there's a clear winner. So I think that we should probably take maybe a few different approaches. As far as the mailing, I don't know, the timely, will that be timely enough to get what we need? Notification system, posting it online, going to the media, hitting that as well. I think those three avenues might get what we need. As far as the educational piece, now the feedback, I don't know, it depends on how much. And then if you're talking about a water bill, how much can we put on the water bill? Not that
Right.
much.
Right.
So I don't really know if there's a clear-cut.
You know, at the end of the day,
Path.
I think what we're searching for here is, what I'm gathering is a quantitative, hey, these are people in our community, this is numbers, we'll vote with the numbers, when in reality, this comes out to what our constituents want. You know, I think, you know, if you wanted to have a real feeling of what's going on, have a town hall, you know, actually get the people in here, talk to them. You know, I don't think there's any way in the time frame before the April 1st deadline that we're really gonna go out there and poll the entire population. You know, we're representatives of the people. I think at that time, maybe if you wanna get the people in front of you, have a town hall, have people up here, you know, that kind of a thing, and get some sort of feedback that way. Because I understand what the idea behind this is, but at the end of the day, we have to make the decision. We've been basically hired by the people to make this decision, to represent them, you know, and prior to my motion on this, you know, obviously I was for this. There's arguments on both sides that are very credible, but I went to my constituents and I talked to them and I listened to what they had to say. And, you know, I'm comfortable where I'm at based off of the conversations I've had with numerous constituents, you know. I'm comfortable there, you know. You can come back and you can say, well, this many people vote that way, and there's arguments, and there's, you know, you get into that epistemological debate of where the truth really is on this, but at the end of the day, we have to just make this decision. And, you know, I would say have a town hall or have some sort of, you know, discussion with the people or online or something like that, because we have to be comfortable with our own decision, and I don't think just numbers is really gonna satisfy that.
Mr. Mayor, it's a little frustrating because I do feel that this has been asked by myself and other trustees to collect different data before tonight's meeting, and now it's being pushed as this, we are in a too-hard of a timeline in which to turn this around. I do stand on integrity for the things that I said, and I have no problem making tough decisions and voting in what I believe is right, but I did sit here and say that I would vote with the people based on us doing a collection of information in which we could find people, like, what they wanted to do. So I'm not concerned about being able to make a decision. I also have spoken to constituents, but like everyone up here, I do have a full-time job too, and I can't reach every single person. I just was looking for another avenue in which that we could try to reach more people, because as we know, this ballot is uncontested in every other item, and I think we will have a low voter turnout. So I was trying to give the people who did vote for me and my fellow trustees up here a right to have their voice heard in another way outside of going to a poll on a national holiday, or like on a holiday, in which we're gonna close down Prospect and we have no contested elections.
Well, I really appreciate you voting for the ballot question in the first place, Trustee DeVore, and allowing the voters to give their feedback on this. I think that was really important so that voters can go to the polls and tell us exactly, or come to our meetings. I ran on this as my campaign promise to eliminate the grocery tax, and so I feel fairly strongly, I know all of us do, about it, and I appreciate Trustee Steinwaddle talking to the voters and changing his opinion on this matter. And I think Trustee Weisenberg has also been fairly, I mean, this thing has been fairly in the papers, you know, since for a while. So I do feel fairly confident that we'll be able to have some good feedback, and so come our meeting on the 18th. But I would encourage, if you do wanted to reach out and talk to others, that's a good time to do it.
Mayor, could we send out a letter? Like, we're talking about a few $100s in postage. I would come in and fold and stamp, and I mean, I would donate my time to do it. Because I do think getting a letter out to the citizens saying, hey, we have something on the ballot that we need your opinion on. Give them the date and time, voting locations, and just send let them know that we're removing the grocery tax. This is how much we collect annually. Are you for or against the tax? And just send it out.
Is that informational, or are you wanting a reply back?
We can ask if, well, informational one.
Okay.
And then also solicit their opinion.
Much easier to send. It's much easier to me, I think, to do that.
Right.
Notification system,
right.
Media. to notify. I think we hit it all then. But what I was trying to touch base on was that trustee DeVore said she wanted some feedback
I understand.
and what that looked like.
I think most people have an email address, so if we could just put, hey, please send your comments, whether you support to this email address. Even the elderly use email. We could potentially get some responses via email, and we would know that that was going only to Heights residents.
Well, I think, you know, the idea behind my motion as well was that April 1st is our deadline, right? If we come back and people are beating down our doors saying that they want this tax, that gives us the breathing room to make this decision, right? You know, if the board doesn't agree with me and everybody else wants the grocery tax because, you know, we've got a Tower Park full of people saying they want it, that's fine. You know, but the April 1st deadline, I think just removing it by then, you know, I don't think we can look at it as being rushed and that's our final decision. That can always be reversed and brought back on the ballot, you know, down the road. But I think the April 1st deadline, having that voter turnout in the middle of it and seeing where we're at and removing that tax for right now, that's the goal.
It definitely should go on our website at the very least. That's the easiest thing to do and quickest. And I think that, I know you responded with you want feedback, but the feedback would be in the booth.
Sure, so like if
I
we
agree.
can go through and put it on our website, if we're gonna do a mailing, if we're gonna do those other things and it's just explaining like, hey, we want your feedback here, I'm okay with that, right? Like even if there's not another avenue in which we receive feedback outside of the referendum, but I think as a whole, we need to be doing more to put out that we want them to go to the ballot, like we want them to vote on the referendum, because that was the whole point in us doing it anyway, right, was to get community feedback.
Yes.
So if that be a letter, social media, website, like I'm fine with that without receiving feedback and just the referendum being the feedback.
I will work on that, but here's my next question. So does the board want to review what we're putting out and then coming to an agreement on what that looks like?
I'm comfortable with the administration doing
Okay,
it. Just,
okay.
you know, this is the, there's gonna be a question on the grocery tax, whether you support it or you don't. This is how much it raised for our general fund each year. I mean,
Just
I think that's very
Leave it
neutral and.
facts-based.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
completely fact-based.
Right.
Like, we're not swaying you, but this is what it raised, this is where you
Right.
vote, this
Yeah.
is what the referendum question is, do you support it?
Yeah.
So I
This is what
think,
you
yeah, so what administration is looking for is just a consensus from this board. I know that, you know, there's been multiple avenues discussed periodically, but is there a consensus from this board at this meeting is there, you want something on the website?
Yeah, I would say website, Facebook, and the mailer.
Yeah.
And the mailer?
I say we have to do the mailer,
Okay.
because, you know, Facebook and the website might not reach everyone, but the
Would it-
mailer goes to their house.
On the mailer, would it be possible to put a QR code that people could respond on? You know, because that would be, obviously it's going to the household. There's the QR code.
Oh, okay, so
The thing
is there a
I'm concerned
consensus of a QR code and a mailer and a?
The QR codes can be complicated for some people. I say just put an
Can they?
email address.
I'm
Email us.
concerned about the mailer getting to the people in time.
Yeah, giving them a couple options to
If we
contact
send it out
us.
this week.
Yeah, I mean, what's it gonna take us to get a letter? I mean, we still have,
And
So, again, we're looking for consensus.
Okay.
And so
I'm with trustee Weisenberg.
we want a mailer.
Facebook, website.
Do we want a QR code?
I think email, I think that's the most simplified.
Do we want, how much money do we want to spend?
What's the mailer cost for the entire village?
it's,
What do-
is it 85 cents a?
$3,500?
At most, I think it's 2,500, but I'll say 35 in case.
Printing it?
I believe that's direct to just have them do it, basically. We send them the template, and then the 3,500 will take care of it.
How quickly does that happen?
There's the administrative and process, but Chief Sutton will obviously have us prioritize that.
As much as I like the idea of a mailer, I still think it's an expense that we shouldn't be spending money on right now.
It's the only way to get to everybody.
But then if we do it with a 1% tax, then we should do it for everything that we put on the referendum moving forward.
I don't mind doing it for the fire either. Like, we only got 2 questions.
I mean, but it is still an expense. The people that have to put the mailer out. And I'm not opposing to do the mailer, I'm just saying it is an expense. And we're up here trying to not spend the taxpayers' money unnecessarily.
Speaking personally, I don't think spending money to increase transparency and informing the citizens of
I hear
Peoria Heights
you.
is a bad expense.
Yeah. But I think there's other options that we can utilize without having that expense,
I
such
think we're out of
as
time.
social media, the platform of the website.
I think that was created that way.
I think we're out of time, Trustee Simmons. I don't,
Yeah.
the amount of people that are on Facebook, the amount of people that go to the website, we use Facebook and the website consistently, and people say they don't know what's going on. So this way, it gets to their mailbox. And the only fault for them not knowing what's going on is because they didn't open it and read it.
Is there a less expense with postcard?
It's just still probably the cost.
So what I'm hearing is, do we want a mailer? Do we want,
I'm still at all three,
all
personally.
three?
Same.
Okay, I got 3.
And the notification
I
system.
absolutely believe we need to get this on the website this week, and the mailer concerns me a little bit because of the cost as well, but could we get an actual firm number tomorrow? I mean, like, we don't know what the number is.
Yeah, that's about the average,
We live in
Clerk
one
Turner-
zip
Clerk-
code. I'm
Clerk
trying to
Turner
think
is
of like when we
correct.
were doing our
Right.
campaigning, for
Yeah.
example. I mean, we'd send things out,
Okay,
so.
it wasn't cheap. But this is also a pretty large topic.
It is. I will, support that.
Is this, Administrator Sutton, is this within your $3,500? Is that within your?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as drafting that, we're gonna ask Mike Bailey or to do that, or?
That, or I'm okay with the administration writing some of them. I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy. Date.
I'll work with Mike on this, and we can get something out
Yeah.
soon.
I'll support Sarah or Trustee DeVore and Trustee Weisenberg if that's what they want to do on this. I'm fine
If
with
everybody's okay with the cost of it, that's the only comment that I had. I'm for it. I just know it's gonna cost money to do it.
Okay. Trustee Reichert, you're,
I just have one more question, and it's a real quick one, and it's for Stephanie. Do we have like a village calendar that could be shared so that I could see what dates the Tower Park is already occupied for?
That is a,
Sarah has it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sarah can send it to you.
Yeah, if somebody will just, that way I can, because I was starting to write them out, and I'm like, okay, this is getting full on the piece of paper, so. Thank you, that was all I had.
okay. Any other miscellaneous business?
I do have something I've noticed. I talked to, or I sent some text to Administrator Sutton about it. I've started to notice a large portion of our residential, single-family homes are zoned R2. I'm not sure of the density. I know generally that goes per acre, how many residents can be in there. And I've noticed that some of the properties that are popping up for sale were single-family originally, and they've basically turned like a basement into a rental, and so now you're seeing what was before a single-family home being sold as a 2-unit or a 3-unit. And I'm just kind of curious and concerned as to what point we stop dividing rooms in these houses and selling them as.
Well, if it doesn't meet zoning, we will address it. Now, historically, when it's been brought to our attention, and a lot of times the police officers will be in a location and see this and say there's 2 families living in a single-family home, and it all depends on how it's divided as well, from my understanding, last time I went to court on this, that it depends on how it's divided, where the families are. It's hard to prove if you have 5 people in one house, who belongs to who, but
Yeah.
if it's divided, the house is divided, you have 2 separate families living there, and that's a zoning issue, then we can move forward and address it. So,
Is that a zoning issue with
Yes.
having 2 separate families in the same home?
yes, the one property recently that we dealt with, the house was divided into 2. The wall was built, and then we had 2 families on each side. It did not meet zoning. So we get zoning involved, we get PD involved, so
Okay.
there's a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, I remember when I was at the police department, I had an issue with that up there by the school. I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
these homes that are, being sold, we actually have, they're turning a larger home into
Sure.
a 3-unit, and it's kind of I don't want to lose our single-family housing stock.
I agree.
To investors that are just willing to basically make 3-4 unit houses.
Yeah, when that stuff's brought to our attention, we address it. So
Okay.
the two properties you sent me will be addressed tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Excellent. I did want to, just on the fire department transparency wise, we did have Adam Wilkin, who is the owner of the old Pal Auto, does the food truck thing, donated a house for our use until it's demoed here, I think this week. But the fire department did do some training. We had Peoria Fire Department set up some equipment, and a captain from their training facility, he did come up and instruct our fire department with Chief Sentes. We had a great turnout. The guys learned a lot, and it was a great experience for our department. So I really appreciate Adam Wilkin donating the use of that house, as well as the Peoria Fire Department. I believe that's part of our IGA right now, that they did provide those services for us free of charge. So
IGA, would you explain what that is?
it's an intergovernmental agreement, just understanding on paper where they, there's this scenario that we have with them going on right now, so.
The training and
Absolutely.
falls under that.
Yes. That training, that free training is part of it, along with academy seats, along with use of the tower. And for them to send an instructor up, not even a Peoria fireman on scene. They were specifically sent up just to train our department. And I believe they're gonna be doing the same thing tomorrow with their training. We're gonna have the head of their training coming out to walk our guys through some scenarios and things of that nature, so.
Okay. Any other departments need a report? Okay. We are down to payment of the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by trustee Weisenberg, seconded by trustee DeVore. Any questions or comments on the bills? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We are now down to the treasurer's report. Clerk Turner?
As of the end of January, in the village-controlled accounts, there was $11,913,720.67. In the water-controlled accounts, there was $2,307,943.89.
You've heard the treasurer's report. Are there any questions or concerns about the treasurer's report? I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Motion made.
Second?
Motion by trustee Simmons, seconded by trustee Kazam. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion approved. We are now down to adjourning to executive session regarding lease of property 5 ILCS 120-/2 subsection C6. Do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Weisenberg, seconded by trustee Steinwaddle. We will now adjourn to the executive session. No further business will be conducted here at the board. We will adjourn after our executive session. Clerk Turner, will you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons? Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
It's always something.
I sure do.
Because it's still running? Hey, Chris? I didn't bring it up today because I'm out of time, but I bring it up today.
We spray it's in the snow zone, so it's like I might sit there honestly, it's all.
No, good response, too. I'm not worried about it.
Have a good night.
That's good. Mark?